Malware, also known as malvertising, has become a security epidemic for users due to its capability to go undetected on systems and its rapid global spread over the net, secretly through websites, email, and social media. Delivered as malicious active code, malware is injected into personal computers of unknowing users. The attacks work to harvest and share valuable personal data throughout hacker communities. So what exactly is malvertising?
So to get a feel for malvertising, you have to talk a little bit about the web architecture today. And typically today, if you go to a website, you're going to load content from that site. But at the same time, you're also going to load content from a bunch of different background sites. And that's going to happen automatically. So those might be content delivery sites. It might be an ad network. All of those different pieces are going to feed content back to your browser that will then execute the code. So if we get back to what malvertising is, it's a technique where the attackers will compromise one of the ad networks, use the ads that are serving into what should be a trusted site, and propagate malware through the advertising network through then what's a trusted site. So it's kind of a two-step process that then ends up infecting your machine.
Menlo Security published a report on web threats specific to Singapore in a global web vulnerability study. Can you explain what was found?
Yeah, so last year we published a report around the top 1,000,000 sites worldwide. And this year for this event, what we wanted to do is just do a snapshot of Singapore. And it turns out the statistics are very similar. Whether you just look at the top 50 sites for Singapore or the top 1,000,000 sites worldwide, what we found were on average in Singapore, there are 35 different background scripts that will run when you connect to a website here. So these are kind of the top trusted sites in Singapore, 35 different scripts. We had one site actually loaded 212 different scripts in the background. So all of that code is coming down to your browser and running on your browser.
Are all website scripts dangerous to users?
No, and in fact, they often add a richness to the web that people like, and it doesn't necessarily automatically generate any sort of security risk. It's just something that happens and makes the web a much more interesting experience.
Why are these Singapore websites dangerous, even though they are hosted by trusted companies?
So we see the same thing. We see it here in Singapore. We see it around the world. Specifically here in Singapore, we saw 15 out of the top 50, or 30% of the sites running outdated versions of software. And those versions of software often have known vulnerabilities and exploit kits that have been built and are available for hackers to try to exploit those servers. So it becomes a dangerous situation to have that much vulnerable software out there.
What are the consequences of downloading dangerous scripts and malware?
I think it's really a probability thing. Eventually, you're going to bump into something that's nefarious. And so when all these sites are running out-of-date software, it's very easy to compromise the older versions of the software. Eventually, you're going to bump into something which will then end up compromising your machine.
Who is safe today from these types of attacks?
Unfortunately, no one's really safe from these types of attacks. I mean, people using the web to get their job done is just an everyday fact of life. And so unless we take new approaches towards preventing these types of attacks, then people won't be safe. So we need a new approach.
Aside from educating the public, what is Menlo Security doing to solve this problem?
Menlo Security has developed a technology called isolation. And we've built a product around this now that allows people to run a virtual version of the browser in the cloud. And so now when I talk about different scripts coming in from the web from untrusted sources, all of that runs on a browser that's in the cloud as opposed to actually running on the user's machine itself. And so this is a totally different approach to solving a security problem. And by keeping that content from executing on the person's machine, we can keep that machine safe from compromise from these types of background script attacks.